Good morning, everyone, and welcome to WellSprings. My name is Julie. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm going to be helping us sing some songs this morning, so I hope you all are in the mood to sing. We're going to bring some light and life to this little dull and dreary day. So I know I've got some singers in the audience here. I'm looking at you guys. So please rise, whether in body or in spirit, and join us in our first song. Please take a seat for this next one and do sing along.
Was God thinking about my country? Or the color of my skin? Was God thinking about my worshipped them. Did God create just me in her image? Or every living thing? When God made me, when God made me, was God planning only for believers, or those who just had faith? Did God envision all the wars that were fought in His name? Did God say there was only one way to be close to Him? When God made me, when God made me. Did God give us the gift of love to say who we could choose? When God made me, when God made me, when God made me, when God made me. Did God give me the gift of voice so some could silence me? Did God give me the gift of vision, not knowing what I might see? Did God give me the gift of compassion to help my fellow man? When God made me, when God made me, when God made me, when God made me.
Please rise for our next song, whether in body or in spirit. This is one of our newer songs. We're actually doing 3 of our newer songs this morning. So this is led by Andy.
Wish me luck. Must have been mid-afternoon. I could tell by how far the child's shadow stretched out, and he walked with a purpose. With sneakers down the street, he had many questions, like children often do. He said, "Tell me all your thoughts on God. Tell me, am I very far? Must have been late afternoon. On our way, the sun broke free of the clouds. questions like children often do. We said, tell me all your thoughts on God, 'cause I'd really like to meet her and ask her why we're who we are. Tell me all your thoughts on God, 'cause I'm on my way to see her. So tell me, am I very far? Am I very far now? It's getting cold, picked up the pace. How our shoes make hard noises in this place. Our clothes are stained. We've passed many cross-eyed people and asked many questions like children often do. Tell me all your thoughts on God, 'cause I really like to meet her and ask her why we're who we are. Tell me all your thoughts on God, 'cause I'm on my way to see her. So tell me, am I very far? Am I very far now? We're not very far now. We're not very far now. Tell me all your thoughts on God.
And to those joining us online, we welcome you as well. My name is Kathleen Higgins, and the lights are really bright. So, and my pronouns are she and her, and I'm pleased and proud to be able to serve as your worship leader this morning. Each week when we gather, we light a chalice, and it's a symbol of our spiritual heritage, but more than that, it's also a symbol of what we bring with us every day, and certainly when we're here. It's that spark, that divine spark inside of each of us that we share with everyone we meet. This morning, we have asked Kelly, Nastasia, and Juliana to... sorry, my sister's name. Liliana. Thank you. Liliana, give me a swat. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Kelly and Liliana, thank you so much. And together we say, we light this chalice to celebrate the path lit before us. The warmth of kindness shines from within us, and the radiance of wisdom that is shared between us and never goes out. So, good morning. Good morning. Very nice. A little bit louder because it's so dark. Good morning. Thank you very much. We've spoken much of how dark it is this morning with a little bit of mist, a little fog, and it's been bright for a long time, so the water that's seeping in is very welcome. But still, it's nice. So, one of the things that we always like to say is that our mission here at WellSprings is to be a community charged full with the charge of the soul. And for me recently, it's been difficult because the news, the things that I am concerned about, the things that make me angry, the things that make me fearful, it's a little bit difficult. So this morning I was thinking about telling you a tiny story from our family. When my oldest grandson, this being my second grandson, hi dude, my oldest grandson was just a little tyke. JP, he was kind of climbing up on everything and wanting to jump off and take adventures. So he's over on the couch and he's kind of ready to go. And I go, JP, that's not a good idea. He launches, he doesn't face fall, but gives himself a serious lump, rubs it off, gets back up, and then looks over at me and says, would that be a good idea? It's a family phrase now. Would that be a good idea? So when I am concerned and fearful, and I have a tendency to want to go into a corner and hide out. Would that be a good idea? No. Okay. So being able to meditate at times when we're feeling maybe a little bit overwhelmed by the world not going the way we want it to. When we do that kind of meditation, I dreamed up something that I'm sharing with you. I have an imaginary shelf. Okay? Here's my meditation shelf. And everything that is going to tear me up and be part of confusing my meditation, I just let it up here and put it in the shelf. Then for those few moments where I'm watching my breath, coming back to my breath, wanting to feel the peace and feel just me in my own socks, that's where I put things on that imaginary shelf so that we would have just a chance to be here. I'm happy to loan that shelf to you this morning. There's plenty of space. It doesn't stay up there. It'll come back to you. But for the time that you could be breathing, I'll let you borrow my shelf to put my fears, our concerns up on that shelf. So may we all find a place where we can set aside for a few moments the things that are tearing us up so that we can find moments of peace. So this morning, I'd also all like to welcome any newcomers among us. And if this is your first or second time in this Sunday service, we're very glad you're here to watch us or hear. And we hope you'll do a connection card here or the one online. You can learn about us. You can start to introduce yourself. And there's a connection card in the video link below that would be very useful. Also, if anyone wants to interact with each other online, there is a live chat available. You'll be able to see it on the screen as well. You need a YouTube or a Google account. Just sign in and click the live chat button to say hello, and some of the folks here will kind of pull up their phone and join other people as well. We have a few announcements that we want to share this weekend also. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to our membership and communication coordinator, Jessica Heichel. Jessica?
Hi, WellSprings. My name's Jessica Heichel with your announcements for this week, and here is a QR code. You can scan that at any point for more information on today's announcements. Up first is a big thank you to those who have contributed to our Faithify campaign, and a reminder to those who have not yet had an opportunity to contribute. If you scan that QR code, you can read more about what this campaign is, and you can also make a one-time donation. This is a really great opportunity for folks who maybe don't attend in person or who maybe don't attend or give regularly to make a one-time donation that is super impactful. We are raising funds to help support our mission as a teaching congregation and our ministerial interns. So if you like WellSprings. And if you want to help kind of spread the spirit of WellSprings out into the world, the best way to do that is to make a donation to our Faithify campaign to help us continue teaching and raising up new ministers. Second announcement, speaking of our ministerial intern, Nick Sanchez is hosting our next Soul Bite, and this one's actually going to be on Zoom. So if you are, in fact, interacting with us from far away, this is a way that you can actually connect a little more deeply with WellSprings. Scan that QR code coming up on December 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Nick is going to be hosting a Soul Bite, which is just a laid-back, one-time discussion. If you're interested in attending, let us know at the RSVP link. And finally, it is the holidays, which means that we are planning our holiday event at WellSprings, which is coming up on Saturday the 16th, and it's WellSprings Wonderland. It's going to happen here in Bell Hall, and folks who are interested in attending, we're going to watch a movie together, have popcorn, hot chocolate. It's going to be a fun time. There will be a craft for the kids to do or adults to do. And we hope you're able to join us. So if you can, do scan that QR code for the RSVP link to let us know to expect you that day. Thanks, everyone, and I will see you next week.
Thanks, Jessica. At WellSprings, the foundation of all that we do is the power of connection, making space in our hearts and our lives for each other. And this is the part of the service where we honor that connection by greeting one another. And for those who are joining virtually, can take a moment now, share a greeting in the live chat, maybe say hello on WellSprings Oasis. That's our private group in Facebook, WellSprings Oasis. Or just reach out with a text message or note to someone else in our community or someone else in your family, your friends that you're thinking of today. So as we greet one another in this room, though, please ask before you shake anybody's hand or reach out and hug them. If you prefer to have people not come up closer to you, stay seated, and we'll take that as an indication to go ahead and wave from afar. So whatever way you want to greet, please do so now. So thank you very much for all the warm greetings. Thank you very much. Thank you for the warm greetings this morning. You've got to love the connection that shines from each other. On a gray morning, we're lighting up the room. Thank you so much. So thank you very much for the warm greetings. You're invited to continue to connect. After service will be coffee, and we'll have some donuts over there that if we race them for the kids, and we'd be able to then connect and continue our conversations after the service. And I invite you now into our time of generosity. And that's an opportunity to express our gratitude for the ways that WellSprings impacts our lives and the lives of others. If you care about this community, if it's helped you through some times, we hope you'll honor this place by giving of your treasure and your time and your care and your heart by sharing a gift with us. The greeters are about to pass the hat. And if you want to put anything in the virtual hat today, you can text WS-Springs, that would stand for WellSprings, to 73256. A link will pop up, and you can make a gift then online. And there is also a link in that online giving form in the video description that would appear below. And again, thank you for all the ways you have gifts of time, effort, energy, money, kindness, attention, care. All these are gifts that support our community and the communities and the partners that we support beyond the doors. So our offering will now be gratefully received. Thank you. Having shared energy between us and then giving beyond us, let's take some time now to reground into that deep and soulful energy that's within. We do that by doing what's most simple and elemental in our lives. We take a breath, inhaling and exhaling without rush or hurry. Just breathing in and breathing out. There's nowhere else to go, nowhere else to be. Let's be here together. Now, as we prepare for our time of mindful silence, we follow these words from Thich Nhat Hanh. If we want to enter heaven on earth, we only need one conscious step and one conscious breath. Let us cultivate peace and experience just being here in this quiet time together. Wherever it is that we are, whatever it is that we're doing, however it is that we're feeling, let us remember that peace and presence are always as close to us as is our own breath. May this be so for you this moment. May it be so for you this day. May it be so for you in the days to come. And may it be so for all of us. As the band comes up for our next song, Our young ones can join Youth Spirit in the back, in the corner here. And we always say, remember to get them after the service.
The last, oh, I'm not on yet. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. I'm waiting. Hello. Hi. We've never actually done this during a service before. Last time the three of us were up here, we did this for Reverend Beth's ordination. So it's a mashup of two of our longtime WellSprings favorite songs.
In a different way.
Yeah, very different way. I'm not even sure if there's going to be lyrics. So just enjoy.
You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness inside you makes you feel so small.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast, to be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. But I wonder what would happen.
But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show. I wanna see you, just wanna see you. I wanna see you, I wanna see you be brave. Show me a smile. Everybody's been there, everybody's been stared down by the enemy, fallen for the fear and done some disappearing out onto the mighty. This world makes you
Don't
crazy,
run.
and you've taken
Just
all
stop
you can
holding
bear.
your
Just call
tongue.
me up,
Maybe there's a
because you
way
know
out
I'll
of
be
the
there.
cage where
Come
you
on and
live.
call me
Maybe
up,
one of
because
these
you know I'll
days you
be
can
there,
let the
and you
light
can call
in.
me
Show
up.
me
Come on.
how big your brave is. Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave.
Don't be afraid
To let them show your true colors, your true colors.
are beautiful.
And since your history of silence,
I can remember when I last saw you laughing.
let your words be anything but empty.
Just
Why
call
don't you
me
tell
up,
them the
'cause you
truth?
know I'll be there, and I see your
Say
true
what you wanna
colors
say
shining
and let the
through. I
words
see
fall
your
out.
true colors.
Honestly,
You're
I wanna
beautiful
see you be
like a rainbow. And I see your
Don't
true
be
colors.
afraid.
Let
I
them
wanna
show.
see you be brave.
I wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you.
I wanna see you be brave.
I wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you.
I wanna see you be brave.
You're beautiful.
I don't think we've had a standing ovation in years. Pretty good. Oh, jeez. Hard to follow, too, right? Well, good morning, everybody. You know, the last time that I preached in November, I warned you all. I warned you that I wanted to spend a little bit of time in our holiday message series this season, God Without Borders, talking about history and theology. So I hope you heeded that warning, because by the end of today's message, you're all going to have about 3 credits towards a seminary degree, okay? Take out your notebooks. No, I'm kidding. But because I am, in many different ways, kind of taking you back to seminary with me today, I thought I would start us off with a story from that time in my life. Gosh, it was 12 or 13 years ago now that I started divinity school. And I was friends at the time I'm still friends with him, with a guy named Eric, who wanted to start at our school a UU worship band. Now, we had a choir, like a traditional choir at our seminary, but Eric wasn't a singer. He played the bass, like Sam. Where's Sam? Like Sam. And like Rodney. Rodney plays everything. And Eric wanted to experiment with the same kind of thing that we do here at WellSprings. He wanted to experiment with what it would be like to play contemporary music, popular songs in UU services. So Eric started recruiting. He found me and another friend of ours to sing. There's a picture of our band here. You can see me at like 25 in that picture. He found a drummer, but he could not find anybody in our little UU community at school who played guitar. So instead, he recruited our good friend Matt. Matt is in the back corner sitting down with the beard. And Matt was an excellent guitarist, but Matt was also a Baptist who grew up in rural Georgia. And he was just the chillest dude, right? He loved to play. He was totally happy to join our band and learn our weird progressive worship songs. That was fine with him. And we never really thought much about the religious differences in our experiences until one day Eric brought us all a Christian rock song that he wanted us to play. And all of us Unitarian Universalists in the group, Unitarian seminarians, mind you, so like the worst, we got into this deep discussion about whether or not this was right? About the way that Jesus was portrayed in the lyrics of the song, about whether or not it would be appropriate for us to sing. And as we're having this discussion, Matt is just strumming his guitar, practicing chords, and eventually Eric turns to Matt and says, "Hey man, what do you think? Like as a Christian, how do you feel about a bunch of Unitarians singing this song?" And Matt kind of looked up from his guitar and he was like, "I don't know, dude. I don't have strong feelings about it." But we could tell he wanted to say something else. And he stopped playing, and he looked up at us, and he was like, "Can I confess something to you guys?" And we're like, "Of course, Matt, what is it?" He said, "I'd actually never heard of you all before I came here." We're like, "Wait, what? There are Unitarians in Georgia." He's like, "I know, but I've been a Christian in rural Georgia all my life. I just never heard of you." And then he said, "Honestly, guys, for like the first 6 months I was here, I thought you all just worshipped some god named Unitar." Yep, Unitar. Why do I feel like Unitar would look like this? Like a vaguely, like some kind of strong, vaguely Norse masculine god, but who plays the harp and is really open-minded, right? So take that with you wherever you go. We love trying to sneak all hail Unitar into our prayers after that. So, like you, this story always makes me laugh, but it also makes me happy. It's sort of a tender story for me in a good way, because I laugh, but I also think about how simple it was, how easy it was for Matt to just be like, "I guess there's some other God out there that I've never heard of," and to just accept that. There's such an openness there, a kind of humility about God that honestly I probably didn't expect from someone with his religious background. Where I might have expected rigidity, there was humility. I'm glad that I was wrong, because I think we need more of that humility in our world. We've been talking in this message series about how there is no one right way to think about God. There's no one correct name or set of rules about God. Nothing was just dropped down on us from the sky wholesale one day. Our ideas about God are influenced by our lives. They're influenced by the people who first described God to us. They're influenced by the time in history that we're living in and the problems that we're dealing with. But just because our vision of God didn't drop down from the sky, I don't think that that means our ideas about God don't matter. Because our beliefs about the nature and the character of the most and the biggest thing in the universe, that set of beliefs is going to affect how we live and how we treat one another. And so maybe that's a good question to ask ourselves as we start to explore today what that word, that concept of God means for each of us. That question of what is our most and biggest? What kinds of qualities do we find in the people and the things that we love the most? What do we notice in those moments when we feel a kind of awe at the enormity of this life? And what might all of that tell us in this moment in history, in this place, in these bodies? What might that tell us about the nature and the character of God? So here's the thing. You can actually chart out the development of the idea of God over time, over history, just like you can chart out the development of any religion over time. Take Christianity, for example. Christianity has not existed forever, right? It's existed for roughly 2,023 years, give or take a month or two, right? That's why we talk about years BC, which means before Christ. 2,023 years ago or so, the government at the time literally used the development of Christianity to reset the world's clock, which is wild. But that doesn't mean that Christianity has always existed, or that it's been the same for those 2,023 years. We can chart out the changes, the arguments, the innovations within Christianity over time. I love this cartoon. The captions are pretty small, but it's a membership class at a church. And that caption at the top says, "Churches and Christian movements throughout history." And you see all the way over on the left, 1 AD, and then all these different branches, all these different movements, denominations, right, throughout history, coming off of this early Christian movement. And then you see the guy leading the class says, "So this is where our denomination came along and finally got things right." It's so silly. It's just silly, I think, right, to have no humility about God. Because just like any religion, the concept of God also developed and changed. There's an excellent book that I recommend by a scholar of religion. It's a thick book, but it's good. Her name is Karen Armstrong, and it's called A History of God. It gives a good overview of this. How our ideas about God evolved not just within any one faith tradition, but even beyond religion, when you look at things like human anthropology and history. To the best of our ability, we know some of humanity's first recorded thoughts about God, way far to the left of that 1 AD on the chart, right? Way before that. Imagine living in a world before science, before machines, before most tools even. Imagine living in a world where fire and the wheel and the ability to grow your own food were basically the height of technology. Like agriculture was the iPhone 15 Pro, right, back then. A lot of things were unexplained and scary, but we were here. Humans were humaning back then. And humans were very concerned with the questions about how they might influence the world around them. They wanted to make good things happen and prevent bad ones in an unpredictable, sometimes threatening environment with threats that would come from nature sometimes and also from each other sometimes. Now, back in those days, our ideas about God basically fit into these three categories behind me: polytheism, henotheism, and monotheism. This is where you're going to get your credits, okay? So polytheism on the left. The earliest religions that we have evidence of were basically all polytheistic. Think about indigenous religions here in the Americas, or the old pagan religions you might have heard about from Europe, or Hinduism in Southeast Asia, or all different kinds of ancestor worship in Africa. There are a million different local folk religions all across the world that were all, for the most part, polytheistic. In polytheism, you kind of understand the whole universe as one thing with two parts. There's the realm of the gods, often literally like up in the mountains or down in the sea. And then there's the humans on earth. And in polytheism, they're mirrors of each other. So the God realm, just like the human realm, has lots of different gods, lots of different actors who interact, who fight, who get married, who have babies. And their actions can influence the human realm. If you needed rain, like today, for your crops, there was a rain god for that. And so maybe you, in the human realm, would try performing rituals to influence that rain god in the God realm. But if the rain god didn't like you, or slept in on the morning that you did the ritual, it might not work. And it didn't particularly mean anything to you about the whole nature of the universe. You'd just try again. The gods were just kind of helping things move along behind the scenes. But in human history, as technology advanced, suddenly something called travel became possible. And you could expand your society. You could look for new lands. And suddenly different groups of people were coming into contact with each other. And sometimes that meant they would fight for power, for resources. That's when we started to see the second way of understanding God evolve, henotheism. Now, specific groups of people, like you see over there on the right with the arrow, would start to associate themselves with their God. So there were still multiple gods, in a sense. They didn't believe that the other gods outside of their tribe weren't real or didn't exist. More like if two tribes were at war, then their gods were also fighting alongside them. And the relative strength of each group's gods could kind of help explain why the battles on earth turned out the way that they did. The ancient Greeks started getting into henotheism. And you can see this idea in the Old Testament of the Bible as well, in the way that the tribe of Israel speaks about their God. Think about the story of the Exodus, the liberation of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. It's filled with examples of the Hebrew God being stronger than the Egyptian gods, right? And then over time, this also starts to shift. And you can see it actually written into some of the prophecies of the Christian Old Testament and then picked up on in the early years of Christianity. A new idea about how to think about God, where suddenly a certain group of humans say, hey, not only is our God the strongest God, our God created all of this. Our God was present before all the others. You know what? Come to think of it, our God is the only real God, the one true God. And so all the other gods are just false gods created by people. Ah, interesting, isn't it? Interesting to see where that idea came from. That way of delegitimizing when people create their own ideas about God. If you maybe have inherited and lived within that one understanding of God, that monotheistic idea about how God has to be before everything and the only one and real and true, well, maybe you can see how that affects how we feel when we learn about other religions. But all of these ideas about God came from somewhere. They were all at one point created. And by the way, all three of these different ways of thinking about God still exist, right? Hinduism is an ancient polytheistic religion that is still practiced today as the third largest religion in the world. But I will give it to monotheism, because once it developed, it really had a moment, a roughly 2,000-year moment that's still going on, right? After all, Christianity and Islam are both monotheistic religions, and they are the first and second largest religions in the world right now. These ideas are part of our inheritance. In this country, most of us grew up with the idea that popular culture God, that Simpsons God I talked about a couple weeks ago, that is monotheistic. We think of God as the most and the biggest, not limited in any way, just up there being huge and eternal. And if we've inherited that idea somewhere along the line, that God does mean the only and the true, it does affect how we treat people who have different ideas, unless we look at it clearly and think about whether or not that is what we believe. Maybe you are starting to see my point in all of this, which is that it has not always been this way. And if it hasn't always been this way, maybe it doesn't have to be this way either. In our tradition here, Unitarian Universalism, we are fine with all of these ways of understanding God. In fact, I have more charts. We've got a bunch of other ideas. In our tradition, there are ideas that a whole bunch of Unitarian Universalists believe in. We've got atheism and humanism, where it's just humans out here working things out on our own. We've got deism, which was really big in early Unitarianism, where there's sort of a distant creator God out there, but he doesn't get involved too much. We've got pantheism, which is the idea that those circles are the same, right? That God is in everything, and God partners with us and is part of everything that unfolds and happens on this earth. And then we've even got panentheism, which I love because it's just pantheism with like a little extra slice of God on top. It is. It's like a little bit of mystery where God's in everything, but there's also some part of God that will always be beyond us, too. In our UU tradition, we truly don't care which God you believe in or don't believe in. They're all good with us. But what we do care about is the nature and the character of your God. We care who your God asks you to be here and now. We care how your God asks you to treat others. Because what you describe as the most and the biggest and the highest and the truest for you will bleed out into your actions, into your life. At the end of the day, what we care most about is whether you know yourself as beloved and whether you trust that everyone else is too, and whether you act like you know that that's true. Matt, our lay preacher, mentioned this last Sunday. He talked about how the God we believe in has that effect on how we show up in the world, the qualities that we ascribe to God. It changes how we make decisions and how we write our laws. It changes who we see and who we ignore. And that's why my favorite way of thinking about God puts love at the center. Just like our core UU values that our congregation's children are learning about right now in Youth Spirit. with Miss Carol and with Jen. And just like this one last idea that I want to share with you all that I learned about in seminary. You see, there's a branch of that big tree, right, all the way over and to the left, the right, an offshoot of monotheism, which turned into pantheism and panentheism and got described by a couple of philosophers and theologians in the 1800s and got picked up on by more folks in the 1900s and now into our time. And it's an idea called process theology. It's the thing that I found in seminary that when you really want to sit down and have like coffee with me for 2 hours, I will tell you that I believe in. And you can read a whole bunch of books about process theology. I can recommend some to you, shorter ones and longer ones if you want. But it's not so much the complexity of the theology that caught my eye. It's the way that process theology changed how I thought about power, how I thought about the most and the biggest of things. What process theology suggests is that everything is in process. Everything is unfolding. There's no predetermined end or grand plan. We have a God who works in partnership with us, which means that God's power is not the power to control the outcome. Think about that. How often have you heard God has a plan or God is in control, right? But if God and people are partnering together to make something here out of this earth, then God is not in control of everything. God can't snap God's fingers and determine the outcome of our lives in this way of thinking about God. And that kind of God might be a blessing for anyone who's ever prayed for a loved one to get better and then they didn't. That kind of God might be a blessing for anyone who's ever prayed for a marriage to be healed and then it fell apart. In a lot of the theologies that we've inherited, people really struggle with situations like those because it can seem like God is punishing them further in their suffering. But in process theology, God can't control the outcomes of our lives. And process theology then starts to ask us, why did we think that the power to control is the most and the biggest power that there is? Is that what we really believe? That the power of control and domination is really the strongest force in the universe? Or could it be something else? Could the strongest and most and biggest force in the universe maybe be love, presence, unending relationship, a God who stays with you no matter what, who never leaves you behind even when you're suffering, who stays by your side and when you're ready, offers you another day, a new possibility. God as a faithful partner in this life, unfolding alongside you in a world that is not that different really from the one the ancient humans had to face. So often scary and unpredictable, with threats that come from nature sometimes and sometimes from each other. What a different way to think about God, huh? What a different way to think about power and what we believe is really most powerful in this world. So I share that just to say that it is worth thinking about who God is to you, whatever you decide. It's worth knowing not just what you don't believe in, but what you do believe in. What's your most and your biggest? What do you and what do we believe about the nature of the greatest force in the universe? And how does it shape who we are? All those questions will be on the test later on. And I'll leave you with that today. Amen. And may you live in blessing. I'm going to invite our band back up on stage to join us for their last song today. And as they do so, I'll invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer. Great God of our own understanding, speaking to us in the language of our hearts and of our minds, may we feel comforted by knowing that there is something beyond us, by knowing that when we might feel hopeless or at our end, that there is more. There's more out there that we can't see and that we can't understand. May we still seek to know, to learn, and to grow, remembering that there is joy in discovering more of who we are and maybe even who you are. For these prayers I've spoken out loud and for the prayers that each of us are carrying on our hearts, we say amen.
Please rise, whether in body or in spirit, for our final song this morning.
You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, the kind you wanna stay up with all night. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole, they won't leave your side when you lose control, the ones that don't let you lose your soul. You gotta find your people, the ones that get the joke, who understand what you're saying for a word is spoke. You gotta find your people that put the needle in the groove, but when you're together you got nothing to prove. But when you're together you got nothing to lose. In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger, trying to find what you lost. You can't go it alone, everybody needs help. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself. You gotta find your people that'll call you bluff, ride along when the road is rough. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel equal, they pick you up and don't put you down, help you find your way to the lost and found. In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger, just trying to find what you lost. You can't go it alone, everybody needs help. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself. The ones that understand you, the ones that lend a hand to you, the ones that don't demand anything from you. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, they tell you the truth and wish you well. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself.
This light may go out, but the mysterious source that sparked it is always with us. And together we say, as we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, and to light our paths today, tomorrow, and always. First of all, go birds. Second of all, may we feel a sense of gratitude for the days that are gray and rainy, and may we also feel that gratitude when the sun returns again. I'll see you all hopefully in another week. Let's put our hands together one more time. Take us out, guys.